All right, today's episode on Tequila Forever Tequila. I'm going to be doing a review on El Tesoro Reposado. Now, this is El Tesoro de Don Felipe. This so there's no other confusion. I know there's some other tequilas out there that are called El Tesoro. This bad boy is coming out on number 1139, Distillería La Alteña. We know the master distiller is Carlos Camarena. And just real quick, just to recap about the process on this tequila. It's from the highlands of Jalisco, as I mentioned. This is all Tahona crush. They use traditional ovens called hornos. This is steamed at a very low temperature for 48 hours and then cooled down for an entire day. And then they use copper stills. Now for this reposado, it's rested for 9 to 11 months in American oak ex-bourbon barrels. They are all extremely used. So if you look at the color on this, it's like a really light, straw yellow. Now I want to talk about the price on this tequila as well. I think this is running for like lowest that I have seen is 54, but on average it's anywhere from like 60 to $70. I've seen them as high as 84. Lately they've been around the 70s, but you can still find some locations, right? Maybe it just depends where you're at, your location, but I should be able to find them around 60. I think that would be the proper pricing for this tequila. I don't have the latest batch, but they're all going to be similar, but yet it could be just slightly different. You got to keep in mind when it comes to like artisanal products, right? When it comes to these, these tequilas that are made the right way, natural tequilas, it's going to be slightly different. Now this is batch number 11. I think right now they're probably like at 27 or maybe somewhere in the 30s. I'm not too sure exactly. And before I do this review, one thing that I did want to talk about too, so here in the back it says El Tesoro is crafted at La Alteña Distillery, founded by my grandfather, Don Felipe Camarena, in 1937. We make tequila here almost exactly as he did then. And for the very same reasons, to pay tribute to our fields of agave and make a spirit worth sipping. So the reason I want to mention that is at home, I have another bottle. So, just get a little bit of info on it and check it out. Now, I think I have one of the early ones, perhaps, sometime in 2003, which might have been like one of the first olive oil bottles. And the reason that's very important is because the process slightly changed on this one. So as you see, it's almost done exactly the same, right? It does use a little bit more modernized equipment. Everything is still traditional, of course. On the other video, when I do it, sometime in the near future, I'll get more into that. And then I also want to do maybe a comparison between the two. So, if you've had any of the older bottles before, you might tasted this, you might notice the difference. I'm excited about that because I have not tried the older ones. I've tried some older blancos, but not that far back. And then this is gonna be the first time that I tried this El Tesoro Reposado. So they're both gonna be new to me actually. I have tried a Reposado before, but that I believe was a single barrel. I forgot, for some liquor store, I think in Bakersfield or something. So I expected that one, of course, to be different than your normal one. So anyways, go ahead and get this started. That opened up real quick. And then pour a little glass, and then gotta mention that I love these caps. These Tahona. I really do like the design on this. I think it's really awesome. Right, a little Tahona right here. Artificial cork. And as for the bottle, I do like the bottle design. I think it really stands out. This is a tequila that's actually really easy to find. You can find them in most liquor stores, but you can find them in a lot of like grocery stores también. You'll find them at Costco's, you'll find them at like Walmart's, Albertsons, Riley's, a lot of different, grocery stores. Is really, really easy to find. So that's the good thing. It is additive free, by the way, for those who don't know. All right. So I'm looking at it here on the glass, and like I said, this is a really, light straw yellow, crystal clear, of course. As in it's very transparent, right? Even though it's yellow. Okay. There's a little swirl, and then I want to look at it here on the glass. So I see it, really, really nice legs. It's clean on the glass very well. It's good. So see how it is on the nose. Wow. I tell you, it has a really, really nice, beautiful nose. I tried the añejo in the past, and I gotta be honest. I don't. From what I remember, I didn't really like it so much. I definitely got to give it another try. But what I can say is that I'm liking this one more. Compared from what I remember before, definitely liking what I'm picking up on the nose on this. So I pick up a little bit of anise. I pick up a little bit like floral notes in this. There's a very light scent of vanilla. I also want to say I'm picking up just like a little bit of cinnamon. And then there's a little bit of caramel in there and just like very little butterscotch. You do get plenty of cooked agave, so that's definitely a plus, especially for something that's 9 to 11 months. Of course, keep it in mind they use, very, very, very light, extremely used barrels. And that way, that's when most of the color has already been stripped away. Um, a lot of those strong wooden notes that, wooden aromas that you would pick up and flavors are also kind of stripped away. Um, but they do a really good job. What Carlos Camarena and his brother, what they're all about is being agave forward. And that's definitely what this is. This is a agave forward tequila. And then the last thing I want to say too that I'm picking up on this tequila is some mint. So all the aromas that I'm picking up on this, I like it. It's very, very well balanced. There's nothing overpowering any other aromas. Everything that I mentioned is there, and just well balanced. I think as it opens up, perhaps like a little bit of brine and um, very light like peppercorn. Maybe it's like some white pepper. All right, but enough about that. Let's see how it is on the mouthfeel. All right, so that's the first sip of the day. I'm letting that settle in a little bit. All right, let's do this. All right, so this is a very silky tequila, almost buttery like. So it does have a nice mouthfeel to it. I do want to say that there is a little bit of spice and very light heat, but overall, it goes down pretty smooth. I think because it's really silky and oily. Like I said, it's somewhat buttery, but it has a nice mouthfeel to it. Of course, like I said, you're getting a little bit of heat, a little bit of spice. When you expect that from tequila, and it's all good, you know. Let's see what we pick up on the taste. So in this tequila, I'm picking up that mint, the anise. I'm also picking up that some of that cinnamon notes that I picked up on the nose. I want to say this tequila is pretty sweet, naturally sweet. It's not exaggeratedly sweet or nothing like that, but it is a bit sweet. I just like a little bit of like uh, light vanilla, on the taste. Mm. And just some spices. So I don't pick up a whole lot on the taste. Like I said, it's just a little bit of vanilla. You get that mint, the anise cinnamon, and perhaps like a little bit of bacon spices on the taste. But I am surprised. I'm surprised. I'm not surprised it's coming from Carlos Camarena. Um, I seen that this is, I think, rated on Agave Matchmaker like 84, 85 or something like that. Um, but honestly, I think with this tequila here, I'll usually give this an 87 to an 88. I think it's actually really good, especially for like a $60 tequila. I think it's really good. It has a really nice nose to it. I pick up a whole lot on the nose. It has a nice mouthfeel to it, and um, on the taste, like I said, there's not like a whole lot going on, but it is delicious. Everything's well balanced. It's additive free. So this tequila is actually really good. Like I said, I'll go with an 87 to 88 on this tequila. Of course, as I mentioned earlier, every batch can be slightly different. So now that I've tasted this one, I'm really, really curious about that older bottle. And once I get down to doing that review, whether it be this one or yeah, newer batch of this, I do want to do a comparison because I'm expecting something different. Like I said, I'll get more into that and talk about some of the process, some of the things that might have changed from then and now, and then a video that I watched. I don't remember the name of it, but it's with Robert Denton, and he shows that whole process. So once I get the name of that, I want to recommend that video to you guys so you guys can check it out and know a little bit of what I'm talking about. So, anyways, I want to say, thank you very much. Until next time, salud.